All right, so let's get into it. So finding your Salesforce journey path. I'm going to kind of go through these three topics today. The first one is going to kind of talk about getting certified, some resources that you can take advantage of to help you get certified if you're not already, or further your certifications if you are already certified and you want to kind of advance that. I'm going to talk about networking quite a bit, and throughout it, you'll probably get hear a theme that no matter which one of these bullet points I'm talking to you about, networking is a part of each one of these, whether it's getting certified, gaining experience, or networking in general, and then gaining some experience. What are some resources you can use? If again, a lot of folks introduce yourselves, you all have awesome background experience. If you notice, a lot of times when somebody advertises a position, they ask for 2 to 3 years within Salesforce experience. And this, I want to give you some resources to kind of help you get that you need, as well as some resources for some folks that are committed to hiring folks that don't have experience necessarily, but have shown the ability and the wherewithal and the effort to learn it and be ready to take on a job. So we'll talk through those today. All right, so first thing, I just wanted to kind of high level, why have I decided to focus on this topic today? And I've talked about it a little bit up to this point, but just to kind of reiterate why I chose this particular topic is I've been in the ecosystem for over 10 years now. I've been a leader of this group for 4 years now almost. And during that time period, I've had several people reach out to me as the group leader, asking these kind of questions. What do I need to do to get certified? What do I do to get experience? Or how do I network with different, and where do I get in contact with, or who can I connect with? So those are some topics I've heard, but obviously as well over the last year, a lot of folks are transitioning from one job to the other due to the pandemic that they might not have in the past, whether that's involuntarily or you're doing it voluntarily. So I've had a lot more folks reach out to me really in the last year with these kind of questions than I ever have in the previous 9+ years. So I just really thought it'd be great to kind of go over this to make sure, I've tried to share as much as I can individually, but just thought it'd be good to kind of share it holistically with the group. I'm recording it and we'll put it out there so folks can reference it as they desire as well. So, okay. So that's kind of why I'm doing this discussion today. Okay, so first thing first, as far as getting certified, if you don't already know, hit Trailhead. 100%, you always should start on Trailhead. And I would even kind of make sure, and I'm sure you probably do, is you want to focus on admin training initially, no matter which direction you're ultimately going to go, whether it's dev, architect, marketing, whatever it might be, that admin training and certification really gives you that initial foundation to kind of really build upon that. So I would definitely recommend focusing on the admin training. I actually put together a trail mix, kind of learning the basics of Salesforce. So I'll just kind of bring that up real quick, hopefully. So trail mixes are, anybody that has a Trailhead account can create a trail mix. So I created this, and I share this a lot of times when I first start working as a consultant with different customers that haven't used Salesforce before, just to kind of help them get a basic understanding, or folks new to the ecosystem as well. So this is great for anybody that's kind of new to Salesforce. It starts off by the Trailhead basics, creating a Trailhead playground. Trailblazer community groups kind of gives you some idea about what we are about, kind of the spiel I gave you guys for the first 5 minutes of this session today. And then it gets into some specifics. There's some user basics, lightning experience features, productivity features, how to deal with accounts and contacts in Salesforce, some campaigns, chatter, and then mobile. So that's, there's not a lot to it, but enough to really get you a little bit of an understanding of Salesforce. So feel free to take advantage of that if you feel like you would like to kind of get that basic understanding if you haven't already. And I mentioned it one time before, beyond that, your initial kind of getting started with it, I always recommend focusing on projects and super badges, because that's going to get you the most experience. So in those projects and super badges, you're going into your playgrounds and you're having to complete work. And the work you're having to complete related to those projects or super badges or not. Here's step one, click that. Here's step two, click this. It's really kind of real live scenario situations where you get partial requirements or information, and you got to figure out how to solve for that issue or whatever the scenario may be. So definitely recommend doing that. There's lots of helpful information to help you kind of get past some of the roadblocks you might run into with those, but definitely recommend focusing on those there. Definitely recommend getting to ranger status, and once you get there, going out there on social media if you're not already, to brag about it. And I'll tell you more about the social media aspect of it later, but just keep that in mind. Social media is, again, from a networking perspective, huge in the Salesforce ecosystem if you're trying to first get into it, to kind of start networking and finding the right kind of opportunities for you. So again, recommend completing whatever modules, projects, super badges, and trails that are specific to admin certification. I included a couple of them in here. This is kind of the initial one that talks about building your admin career on Salesforce. And this is a lot, but it's good. If you're trying to work towards a certification, this is about 40 hours worth, 38 hours worth here. So definitely recommend doing that. Includes links to different videos, some podcasts, trails themselves, modules, and all that kind of good stuff. So definitely recommend starting there as you kind of continue to do that. And then once you've completed that, there's a link here that I've included that gives you some information on how to prepare for the admin certification. So about the admin exam. There's 2 different modules. This probably includes a lot that's in that other link that I gave to you, but there's probably a little bit extra on preparing specifically for the admin certification or credentials. And then this is kind of some really last minute study tips and tricks to kind of help you make sure you're ready to actually schedule and take the exam. So, and this is only like 2.5 hours. So, these are good resources to take advantage of right here. And there's also some workshops, all that kind of good stuff that you can take advantage of. And I'll talk about some other ones in just a second here. And then the last but not least, from an initial starting point, as you're working towards your certification, definitely recommend attending a Salesforce Certification Days webinar. It's like a half a day, like 6 hours, maybe something like that. And when you attend those, you get a lot of great info, but you also get a discount code on the exam. I think it ranges from like $40 off to like $70 off, depending on the offer they're making at that particular time. But at a minimum, I think it's always at least $40 off. So go check that out and get some information here. This is the link as well. Kind of gives you some information about it. It's all free. Everything I've talked about so far is all free to you. Just takes your time. That's the only thing that it takes is your time. So again, right now they're offering a $40, but sometimes it's up to $70 off the $200 exam when you take that. So, and it also has different levels. So again, start with administrator, and then you move on from there, and you can kind of join those different ones as well. So just keep that in mind. And I think some folks on the call, I think, have attended some of those certification days and probably can attest that those really are helpful in preparing for, taking the exam. And then here, I've included a blog for Salesforce Ben. I've included several blog posts in this deck by Salesforce Ben. There's several bloggers that you can follow, but Salesforce Ben, I find, has the best variety of different folks that write blogs for his website. And they have really great to-the-point information. It never takes you more than 5 or 10 minutes to read one of the blogs, but you get a lot of great resources and information from it. And it's very objective, I feel like. So definitely recommend following Salesforce Ben. And this is just kind of some additional information about the certification days that's available. So, okay. All right, so next I would recommend joining Success Community chatter groups if you haven't already. And I would recommend if you join specific ones that's going to help you on your journey right now actively, that you don't just join them and get a weekly digest on them on Saturday nights. Because if you have already joined them, I mean, I get a lot of those, but some of them there's a handful of groups that I join that I want to stay up to date on. So I changed that notification. So I get a notification either on a daily basis or every post. I included a few on here that would probably help you if you are trying to work towards a certification. The Trailhead Academy, the Certification Days, has its own success community, and then an Admin 201, which is the original, the initial admin study group. So if you want to join a study group, you can do that, whether it's through that chatter group, or you can post locally down here on your chatter groups, on your local groups, to see if anybody in your local area is studying for the same exam that you are. And just to clarify what I mentioned as far as the email frequency, so you're not getting, along with your other 50 groups that you might have joined. If you're in here on the group, so this is a success community. I call it success community. It's actually old verbiage of it, but that's how I help people understand the difference between this and the event management system, which I'll talk about in just a second. But if you'll notice right underneath the image, the title in the image, there's this email weekly digest. If this is a group that you really want to kind of stay up to date on, you can change this to either every post or daily digest. If it's something that posts a lot all day long, you might want to just go daily digest instead of clogging up your email. But if they don't post a lot and you really want to be on top of it and respond quickly, so again, being active is really key as you're kind of learning and networking and that kind of good stuff. Then you could change those to every post if it's not clogging up your email too much. But definitely recommend changing it in here so you kind of keep up to date and be able to stay active in that group. So, okay. And this is just a few. Again, there's others out there that you can search on, and I'll kind of show you about that in a little bit later. But just wanted to kind of give those links for the time being. Some cert prep resources for when you are ready to actually schedule and take the exam. Almost everybody that posts about passing the exam, they're going to thank one of these two people more than likely. There's others out there too that they do, and you'll find those as you kind of start to get active, I hope, in the social media. But Focus on Force. It's a great resource, but what I hear most is this is really great for practice exams. So when you're really ready to take the exam, both of these I think cost money. And Mike Wheeler Media, but like Focus on Force is like $20 for the practice exam, so it's not really expensive, but it's worth it, to be able to do that, especially if you're one that's not awesome at testing per se, and you just want to feel confident, get that and take that practice exam, be good for you. So, okay. And then there's some links to some flashcard apps on here, Quizlet and Cram. These are great for understanding the type of questions that are asked, but you just want to be careful for accuracy. Sometimes the answer that they identify on there is not really the right answer, but you can use it to kind of understand what type of questions will be asked on it. And you just want to make sure you're researching to make sure that whatever answer they're saying on Quizlet or Cram is the actual correct answer. So, okay. All right. And then last but not least, as far as getting certified, recommendations for what order of certifications to take. Again, like I mentioned, always recommend starting with the admin certification. And then from there, find your passion. What do you, when you do that, hopefully you'll kind of get an understanding of the different options outside of the initial admin, kind of figure out what makes the most sense to you, whether it's developer, marketing, service, sales, whatever it might be, and kind of figure out from there and learn on that. And I put a little bullet point on here. In this current time, it's impossible for one person to know everything about Salesforce. 5 or 6 years ago, some people might have known the majority of it, but it's so uniquely identified and structured out by industry and product that it's like almost impossible. So focus on a particular area of interest for you, and then advance your learnings for that, advance your career in that particular area. Some resources I added on here to kind of help you find that there's a Salesforce career path page on the Trailhead if you haven't already found it. And it kind of helps you figure out what makes the most sense to you. What do you think you would enjoy doing the most in the Salesforce ecosystem? Give you a little bit of information here. But if you scroll down, here's kind of a listing in general, the different roles that are out there, whether it's an admin, a developer, an architect, business analyst, marketing careers, sales, service, or consultant. And then you can drill down in each one of these and kind of get some information about those, because right here it's on the, if I drill into, see if I keep scrolling down. Okay, yeah, so that's if I drill into the Salesforce admin, it's going to take me to the details about what are you good should you expect, what kind of jobs are out there, what's the average pay. Here's some open positions for us that are considered admin type positions, and then what kind of skills they require. And then it gives you links to go and take different learnings so that you can kind of gain that a little bit of a life of a Salesforce admin. You can scroll through there and take a look at that, and then meet some real people that are in admin roles and what they do and who they are. So you can look at that and just kind of look throughout here. If you click on the next one, developer, it'll kind of give you some information again about it. Links to kind of go and take different trainings to prepare for that, but it has similar type of information as well. So just keep that in mind. It's a good resource there to kind of really figure out what makes the most sense to you. And this other one here, different roles and related certifications. So I wanted to kind of point that out. And then additionally, just point out, don't forget to consider Tableau or MuleSoft as options, because they are part of the Salesforce Ohana now. And that's actually listed on here, and that's why I mentioned it. So if you go to the credentials piece of Trailhead, here you can kind of choose your role. Right now, I've chosen Salesforce Admin, and these are the different credentials that you can get that's, related to an administrative credential. So admin, advanced admin, a platform app builder, which is a lot of people go towards, but then also like CPQ specialist or a marketing cloud administrator. And then you can click on any of these other ones. If I go to consultant, you'll notice this is really broken down with a lot of different certifications. So Sue mentioned she just got this education cloud consultant certification, but there's also the experience cloud, Tableau CRM, and Einstein, nonprofit, Pardot. So it's all kinds of different ways. Again, I would pick one of these that makes the most, kind of sounds the most appealing to you, that you'd want to spend your career working towards and work towards that certification. So additionally, again, up here, there's some links up here for Tableau certifications if you're interested in the data analytics of things, or MuleSoft certification if you're interested in integrating systems together. MuleSoft is the way to go for that one. So don't forget about those as well. Okay. All right, so next we're going to talk about networking. But before I do that, does anybody else have any questions about preparing for a certification, or if anybody want to add anything to the resources that I've provided, anything else that they've ran into that was helpful for them as they've worked towards certification? Sorry, giving everybody a chance to get off mute and for me to get a quick sip, drink. So no questions. So feel free to ask any, throughout if you do have any. Hopefully this stuff has been helpful so far and will continue to be. All right, so now we're going to talk about networking. This is huge in the Salesforce ecosystem, and I cannot emphasize it enough for anybody that is looking for opportunities. And if in almost 9 out of 10 instances, when somebody says I got a job, they got a job because they met somebody in the Salesforce ecosystem, whether it was in person at an event or through social media. It could be either one of those. So just kind of keep that in mind. And definitely recommend, if you're serious about getting into the Salesforce ecosystem and finding a job, you would probably have a better chance if you're out there at social media and networking in general. So, okay. All right. So first thing I would say is join local groups. Here we are in the Jacksonville admin group. These are the different possible regionally local groups that can be out there. It could be an admin or a user group. Those two are kind of used interchangeably for the most part. So if you see one that says admin group versus user group, they're probably about the same type of content that you'll experience in those groups. Developer, nonprofit, higher education has specific ones. I don't think there's too many of those groups, but that is available. And then from a marketer's perspective, you have Pardot or Marketing Cloud, which are one is geared towards individuals as marketing towards individuals, and one is marketing from one company to a bunch of other companies if your work is with other companies. Women in Tech is other groups that we have out there a lot of. We don't have one in Jacksonville yet. I know there's been discussion, but hopefully there will be one soon. And then Salesforce Saturday. Andy, who a lot of you guys heard, introduced himself earlier. He's the leader of the Salesforce Saturday group here in Jacksonville. So appreciate that Andy starting that up. Oh gosh, is it about two plus years ago now. So appreciate that, Andy. So, okay. And we also have a developer group, which Jordan, who introduced himself earlier, his dad actually leads the developer group. Mike Griggs actually leads that developer group. And then we have a couple of folks leading a nonprofit group here locally in Jacksonville as well. So if you haven't joined those, go join those. And hopefully once we kind of get back to some semblance of normalcy and meeting in person, we'll all have meetings on a regular basis again. So, okay. Okay, so now I've mentioned this earlier, but I wanted to make sure everybody understood there's different type of groups that you should be joining in the community. One is the success community chatter groups that I mentioned earlier. So definitely recommend, joining the success community chatter groups. This helps you stay up to date on communications among the group members in between events. And it's again, it's actually old terminology, but it's what helps me help you understand the difference between these groups and the event groups. So let me just click into here real quick and just kind of show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so if you go to the success community, which now is called Trailblazer, but it's just confusing to me. But anyways, so if you go to this feature groups tab here, that's where I'm at now, and you go to community groups by region, it breaks it down by country and then state. Like if I go to Florida on here, I can look at all the groups that are in the state of Florida. Here's our group right here with 572 members, and then it lists every other group here. We have a Jacksonville nonprofit group here. We have is the develop. Yep, here's our developer group right here. So those are the three groups that are on here. Unfortunately, okay, in the featured group, I don't think Salesforce Saturday show up in here, do they? But we do have a success community group, but it's just unfortunately not listed in here. But just kind of keep that in mind. Join all four groups that we have here locally in Jacksonville and the ones local in your area if you're not from Jacksonville, so that you can stay up to date. So I'm going to go into the admin one, just so you can kind of have an example of what it looks like when you join. Of course, I'm going to join the conversation. So here's like something Andy just posted recently. He was mentioning actually, really cool thing about this whole virtual stuff. Andy is going to be presenting at the Albany, New York developer group meeting on flows. So he just kind of wanted to let everybody know if you have an opportunity, it'd be awesome to kind of support our fellow Jacksonville leader here presenting in the Albany, New York area up there. So we got some folks from the north that are here. So happy to have you guys join. Here I'm posting about this meeting happening here, and then also introducing new folks to the Ohana. Steve Lane just recently joined from Federal Department of Emergency Management there. So, and then some other things in there. So Community Go, which is the app, that now has the community in there. So that's so those are the kind of things you would find out about if you joined this group. Just so somebody's hiring, boom, right there. There's a company hiring. We like to post that kind of thing. So just kind of keep up to date. There's some free resources that were made available for folks. This company gave courses for free that they normally pay for. So definitely recommend joining the groups and keeping up to date and staying active. Again, change this up here to be either email every post like I have it or daily at least. So, okay. Okay, so next is the Trailblazer community event groups, and that's where you went to RSVP for this event today. So again, if you didn't already kind of look around in there when you RSVP'd, there's a group in there for the admin group that you join again here, as well as our developer and our nonprofit group here in Jacksonville. So if you click up here at the top on find groups, when you first go to here, if you let it know your location, it tells you what's available. So it's telling you, hey, you have this meeting, we're here. And then locally as well, there's no other ones currently scheduled in Jacksonville, but the next closest that are currently scheduled are in Tampa. So here's some ones in Tampa that are out there that are currently scheduled. Career Paths panel for higher ed. So that's kind of a cool one. So just kind of know you can look through here and scroll through the most closest ones, or you can scroll down here by location and you can pick, where you're at, and it'll tell you, which groups are in here. So if I scroll down here to Jacksonville, click on Jacksonville, Florida, again, it tells me there's 3 groups here that are in here. Unfortunately, Salesforce Saturday, again, is a grassroots group, so that's not in here. That Andy manages the Salesforce Saturday on Eventbrite from an event perspective. Some of the Salesforce Saturdays use Meetup or something like that and other tools, but for these 3 groups that are officially supported by Salesforce, you can join those groups here, and that way you can get notified of future events for those groups as well. So, okay. So if you didn't already, when you RSVP'd to this one, if you didn't already kind of say, let me get notified of future events, make sure you go in here and change that status so that you get notified on future events for this group and any other one you're interested in. Okay. All right. And then Twitter groups. Okay. So again, I mentioned social media. So there's Twitter groups. Some groups have Twitter groups. I think I do. I think the nonprofit group does, as well as the Salesforce Saturday. I don't think the developer group does here in Jacksonville, but a lot of the other groups out there outside of Jacksonville also are all over Twitter, as well as the rest of the Salesforce ecosystem. So I'll just kind of show you real quick. Again, similar to what I mentioned before and showed you before on the community group, we just kind of make sure this is means a lot of folks aren't on the success community as often as probably would like. So we try to share some stuff on here as well. So you can see here some things we've posted. Let me go to my profile so you can see it. Oh, no, not my profile, the group's profile. You can follow me too. But so if I go to the group's profile, you can see, we're posting out there from time to time. Reminder about this meeting here, letting you know Florida Dreamin', which I'll talk about in a minute, is planning to happen in October. So join that if you can. And then other things like what's going on with Trailhead, some cool things that could help you land your dream job as a Salesforce admin. This was a live event there as well, announcing the Trailblazer Go community on the mobile app here. So all kinds of cool stuff. So make sure you're on Twitter, you're following that. And I won't go into it, but here's a link to get to any Tableau user groups locally or MuleSoft meetup groups locally, or virtual as well. So just know those are there. Different types of meeting. Right now, we're all meeting virtually due to the pandemic, but it's pre-pandemic, and hopefully in the very near future, we'll start meeting in person again. And then the different type of events we have are learning events, and we usually have those, and we usually switch it up, at least here from a Jacksonville perspective, at a different customer or a partner site has a room that would fit everybody in it. So we usually just kind of pick a place and get that scheduled, meet. We have network events like I talked about at a local pub or bar or restaurant or something. We try to do some joint events. Like right now, this is specifically the admin group that's meeting. But a lot of times during these global gatherings after a major Salesforce event like Dreamforce or Trailhead DX are the 2 main ones, that we'll all get together, us, the nonprofit group and the developer group and the Salesforce Saturday, I would imagine at this point going forward, to kind of all gather together to kind of talk about that event, go over the highlights of it, and just kind of have fun in general. And as I mentioned, different volunteer events, we'll get those scheduled again once we're able to meet in person. So.
Hey, Mark, what is the time frame for the in-person? I saw that Florida Dreamin' is happening, and I'm not trying to show up that, and you'll discuss that more, but what is the time frame for those in-person events? Because I know there's a lot of places, at least in Ponte Vedra Beach, that are open from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's dependent. I mean, I'd love to do it sooner rather than later. I personally am thinking from the admin group perspective, and I'm open for a discussion on what people's comfort level is. But I know in the state of Florida, everybody really at this point has the opportunity to get vaccinated, and if not, it's everyone's choice. No, nothing wrong there. So I'm really gearing towards like August is what I'm thinking. Maybe be our first in person, but I actually did have it, later in the meeting, just to kind of have a discussion from you guys, the folks that would be meeting in person, what your comfort level would be, when that you would feel comfortable meeting in person, that kind of thing. So
okay, yeah, if it's later on, then we'll chat on it later.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. But that's great. I mean, that's definitely something I want to talk about as we're now that everybody has the opportunity in the state of Florida, to get vaccinated. When do we really pull the trigger on that? And we'll keep an eye, obviously, on the stats to make sure the numbers are continuing to go down, and then we'll kind of make some decisions hopefully in the next couple of months here. So that's my plan. Yep. Cool. But good question. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it, man. And then the last thing on here, we'll either have virtual or in person and down the road watch parties. We'll get together and kind of watch. If you're not able to go to Dreamforce, have some folks get together and kind of watch some of the key note speakers and all that kind of good stuff. So look for those as well. But the different types of meetings. And if I haven't mentioned it already, join and get active. Post on LinkedIn, tweet, share information. Make sure you're hashtagging either Trailblazer Community or Salesforce or HANA. Or if you want to know what's going on, you can go look at those hashtags and see what people are posting about the Trailblazer community. So again, Twitter really is where the Trailblazer community really lives and breathes. So if you want to network on social media, that is the place to be. If you can only pick one social media outlet, it would be Twitter. But if you could choose more than one, definitely recommend kind of keeping an eye on LinkedIn and being active in there as well. There's a lot of resources that people share. And again, a lot of real connections that are made. I hear a lot of people either personally, like directly or on social media, that they got a job because they connected with somebody via social media and Twitter specifically. So I listed a handful of folks that I would recommend you starting off if you're new to Twitter and new to the Salesforce ecosystem. You follow these people and you kind of see what they're talking about and what they're posting about, what they're retweeting about. And then you can find other folks and groups to follow as well to kind of get additional info. Again, I've also listed a link here from Salesforce Ben. And this is kind of a blog that he wrote about a Twitter starter pack, what and who to follow. Kind of some of these same ones are on there, but there's a few different ones on here as well for you to kind of take a look at if you want to, start getting, notifications on different Salesforce things on Twitter. That's a good place to start as well. Any ones that are on Salesforce Ben's blog there. And then again, on LinkedIn, if you're able to do that, make sure your profile is up to date. I could tell you, I get hit up from recruiters 10 to 15 times a week, it feels like, about potential opportunities, simply because they, searched and found that my profile said cool stuff about Salesforce. And so make sure you're updating your information on your profile. I also, some people don't, but I list my super badges and my trailhead rank, as well as my certifications on there, so they can find that information and see that from a recruiter perspective. And then, go out there and like and share posts, just to kind of get involved, get exposure, get people to see that you're interested in learning more about Salesforce in general, or about finding an opportunity. So, okay. All right, and then community conferences, I mentioned that, and Salesforce events. These are some other things that definitely recommend attending if you have the opportunity to do so. Great, awesome opportunities to get to learn cool stuff and networking as well. I mentioned Florida Dreaming. That's and Rich did as well just now, but that one, we didn't have it last year, obviously because of the pandemic, but we are, as of now, planning on having it at the end of October. We hope by that point, we'll be able to have a very similarly held event. In the past, the Florida Dreaming has been around 300 people at a hotel. And so we hope to kind of have that same amount of folks joining us. It's in Orlando. So if anybody's interested in attending this, go out there. Tickets are available now. They're $100, $99. So you can go out there and get a ticket for this. It's 2 full days of great content. I think we usually have about 30, 35 sessions throughout the 2-day time frame. So you have some different things to choose from. So feel free to kind of go out there and join that. We're also looking for speakers. So if anybody wants to speak, Angela mentioned she spoke at it previously. If you want to speak at it at Florida Dreaming, feel free to submit a speaker submission. Or if you want to sponsor, that's my responsibility, is to find sponsors. So if you're a company that's interested in sponsoring Florida Dreaming, let me know, and I will be happy to answer any questions to get you set up as a sponsor. We already have a handful already set up as sponsors, some really cool, great companies already, but happy to get some other folks on board as well. So, yeah. And there's links on here for like, so the Florida Dreamin' is kind of regionally located, a regional Dreamin' event. And again, all these Dreamin' events, just to clarify, I probably should have, these are events on the left-hand side over here. All these events are coordinated voluntarily. I volunteer my time to do this by folks in the community. This is not a Salesforce driven and owned and initiated events. They have nothing to do with it, except for they do provide us some tools to help us make sure we have what we need to put on an awesome event. But we do it. We do all the hard work to get that together, including the Florida Dream that I do. There's a nonprofit Dreamin'. There's a witness success event that's for women in tech, WIT. So a lot of different variety of different Dreamin' events that are out there. So here's a link to a schedule of the community conferences that are out there currently. Hopefully it's pretty close to up to date, because there are a handful that are on here. They're actually, I don't know if Dream LA is actually happening or not. If that's going to be virtual, but it kind of lists all the different events that are out here, when they're happening. We need to change the date of ours, but just kind of know that that's going to be out there ongoing once things get back to a bit of normalcy. So that's from a dreaming perspective. And then this Salesforce events, if you get a chance to attend Dreamforce once it's back to full force, I would imagine at some point, maybe close to it, maybe not quite as much in the future, but that's an awesome event to attend. I'm sure there's lots of people on the call that have attended one previously, and it really is a great event for whatever you want it to be. It can be a great learning event, and it's all you do is go and learn. You're going to get what you want. If you want to go there to network with people, get to know people, it's all you want to do. You'll have an opportunity to do that as well, and have fun. Whatever it might be, whatever your goal is there, you can meet it, as long as you stay focused on that goal. Trailhead DX, again, it's usually an in-person, but it was virtual last year. It's going to be virtual again this year. It's coming up on June 23rd. Definitely recommend folks joining that if you have the time to do it. I think it's like about a 5 or 6 hour time frame. It has a lot of cool different sessions that you can attend every hour to kind of learn some different things. There'll be networking opportunities as well throughout that session that day. So plan on joining that. Connections, again, I think they skipped it last year completely, but they're having that again virtually this year. They usually have it in person, but this year, again, they're doing it virtually. That's coming up on June 2nd. So I think that's like a half a day, maybe 3 hours even. So plan on joining that if you have an opportunity. That one, I think, focuses on marketing, if I remember correctly. If somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's mostly what the focus is on that one. And then just wanted to mention, these are all links. Again, they have what's called world tour events. Usually they're in person. You want to try to go to some in person whenever they do have those, but for now they're doing them virtually. Be good to kind of join those as well, and kind of learn some about some information and network, as well as these campfire events. They're doing these virtually now as well, and I didn't realize that, so I thought that was kind of cool that they have this Welcome to Service Cloud, and you just kind of learn some very specific information, related to whatever you're trying to, learn more about. So just kind of keep an eye on that stuff. All those are links in there. And then again, another reference to Salesforce Ben. Here's the events from 2019, just so you have a reference of the different type of events that were out there prior to the pandemic hitting, just so you have an idea of all the different options you have available to you, or will have available to you. We're hoping once everything kind of gets a little more stable with the pandemic. So, okay. And here's a couple other great articles on networking, just talking about how you can pave your path to success through the community, and then the power of the community. So I just wanted to make sure you understand the importance of the Trailblazer community and networking. So I provided those a couple of additional articles there. So, okay. All right, so I was going to next talk about gaining experience. I mentioned a lot of stuff there for networking. Before I get into gaining experience, anybody won't have any questions or want to add any additional insights into networking before I continue on?
Hey Mark, how you doing?
Good. How you?
Do you have a question? Are there
Sure.
any interviewing tips? Just for like how to interview, like just to get prepared?
Yeah, actually, there is in this next section, there's a place where you can connect with some folks. There's some webinars you can watch to kind of learn, but you can also connect with mentors through the Trailblazer Mentorship Program that'll kind of help you plan for that. And then there's also some other opportunities for career fairs. I haven't seen one recently, but they usually try to do that at least a couple of times a year, where they give you an opportunity to kind of do simulated interviews or real interviews, right, with real companies that might be hiring specifically at that time. So those are some great resources, and I'll talk about it in just a second here. But that's a great question. That's what you get a lot is, especially for somebody that doesn't necessarily have the experience to talk about. How do you position your interview, your answers to your interview questions, that kind of thing. So yep.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody have anything to add to that wants to help Knox out there?
Yeah, this is Doug Gintawi Knox. In regards to interview, there is a guy out there. His name is Justin Dux. He has a podcast called Career Cloud Radio, and I'll post it on the chat here after this. He's a Salesforce admin based out of Minnesota. Sometimes he holds, he's part of the Talent Stacker program, if you're familiar with that, but he also has interview practices one-on-one or with groups. I feel like he's helped me a lot kind of frame the story that I want to tell when I'm going to interview as I pivot into the Salesforce ecosystem.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Doug.
That.
Yeah, that's great. I know you've attended some career fairs too in the past, Doug. So that's good.
Yeah, and just to support Mark's information, networking and getting your LinkedIn profile updated really is big time. Not only are you connecting with other people in the same path or same place in the journey, but yeah, you're going to get some looks based on recruiters, based on what you put out there.
For sure, yeah. And then I see you also shared, Doug, the link to the Trailhead DX. That's coming up in June, so appreciate you sharing that as well. And then Andy shared the link to the Success Community Group for the Salesforce Saturday, Jacksonville Salesforce Saturday group, as well as the Twitter account for the Jacksonville Salesforce Saturday. So I'll make sure anything anybody puts in the chat, I'll make sure I add a slide and include those as well, so people can have those for beyond this time period as well. So appreciate that. Anything else before I get to gain experience? Okay. All right, so let's get into this. So the first thing I will say with gaining experience, and Doug just helped me out with this transition, networking. See item number 8, agenda item number 2, networking. That really helps you be able to gain the experience that you need to get to know the right kind of people, find out who's been in your shoes recently and how they got to the place they're at now, which might be a little further along in the journey than you are. So networking really goes a long way with figuring out what to do to get the right experience, right? So just keep that in mind. Just wanted to bring that up if I can't emphasize it enough. Okay. Okay, so now here's some real resources. And Knox, you were asking about some interview tips, and Doug added some insight there. But there's this, it's on the Trailhead called Trailblazer Connect, this program here. Let me bring this up for you. So here you can find a lot of cool information on here. Not only learn, we've talked about that. We take advantage of that. But down here is some webinars that kind of give you some how to craft your resume, how to ace your interview, some interview tips. So these are great resources here, specifically some career panel webinars and such that are down here. But then down here is what I wanted to point out: finding a career event. So here you can look at and find career fairs specifically, or it also just lists a lot of different webinars or resources that you can take advantage of and join, to kind of learn more about, where you need to get to. I've had some folks joining this Essential Habits for New Admins and said it did wonders. It really was great as a new admin. So definitely would recommend that. Okay. And then here again, here's a Connect career panel. All these, actually, these two are happening tomorrow, to be honest with you. So there's a lot. So you can see there's multiple things happening just tomorrow. So there's always something out there that you can go check out that's going to help you, help you with your journey. So kind of take a look at that. And then the other one I mentioned earlier is being a part of the Trailblazer mentorship program. I'm a part of that. I'm a mentor. I have a mentee that I meet with on a regular basis. And there's a lot of folks out there like me that are willing and able to kind of provide some of their time just to kind of provide insight to folks as much as we can. So get out here and join this. If you have experience in the ecosystem, I definitely encourage you to register as a mentor, so you could be a mentor to folks if you haven't already. And then anybody new going down here for calling all mentees, register yourself as a mentee. They'll connect you with a mentor, and then you can get that information. They can help you with planning your career, help you with resume review if you want that, mock interviews, refining your strategy, or whatever it is that you want to get out of that mentorship relationship. It could be outside of this, but definitely recommend folks participating in this if you haven't already, for sure. So applications are open, so join now. Okay. Right. And then additionally, Salesforce provided and coordinated resource here is the Salesforce Talent Alliance. This is a bunch of Salesforce partners that are committed to hiring individuals that are new to the ecosystem, as I mentioned before. If they're going to be a part of this, I think they have to, if they want to stay officially a part of this program, they have to hire a certain amount of folks to their company that have less than 6 months experience, certified, but with less than 6 months experience. So you have to have a certification, I believe, to participate in this, but you have to have less than 6 months experience to also get a job as part of this. So that's perfect opportunity here. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. And then they provide a lot of great resources for you. And then some of the companies and organizations that are involved with the Salesforce Talent Alliance. We had a couple folks earlier mention Salesforce Trailblazer Military, which was formerly VetForce, but it goes beyond the U.S. because it was initially kind of U.S. based. Now other countries don't necessarily call it veteran, so kind of generalized it to Trailblazer Military, so we can go outside of the U.S. and help folks find jobs that were in the military previously. Marivis, I think Stephanie mentioned that. Pep Up Tech is another great one. HBCU Force really helps the ecosystem a lot, and Supermoms. That's just a handful of them. If I pull this up here, again, go here and sign up for it. It helps you kind of connect with folks here. And then down here at the bottom, kind of, has some videos, but it also lists, these are all the kind of the benefits of the impacts that they've had so far and continue to grow. But down here, we list a bunch more partnering programs that you can, go as well. You have to kind of do some things specifically in here. I don't know if all of these are free or some of them cost, but definitely would recommend coming in here and seeing which one of these maybe make the most sense to you and take advantage of those different programs that are out here and available to you. So, okay. The other one that is a Salesforce coordinated resource is the Salesforce Essential Advisors Program. That basically takes small businesses that use the product called Salesforce Essentials, and they match them up with folks that are fairly new to the Salesforce ecosystem that can help them. Because usually, again, we're talking about small businesses, so they don't have a large flux of money to spend on technology resources. So, they use the Salesforce Essential licenses, which is a lot cheaper than the traditional larger sales or service licenses. And then they'll take advantage of this in here. So I've got a couple links in here. I'm sorry. The first one is both of them on Trailhead, but this one just kind of gives you some information about it, just 40 minutes long, but you can kind of go through here and kind of learn if you're interested in the Salesforce Essentials Advisors Program. Kind of tells you what it's about, what's required to be an Essentials Advisor. And ultimately, if you do want to be an approved Salesforce Essentials Advisor, here's another Trailhead, much more in depth, that you have to complete, about 19 hours worth. You have to complete all the modules that are on here. Once you complete those, there's a process, and if you go through the other training resource, it'll tell you, you go through this, you go through some mock interview, I think, with some folks internally there at Salesforce, and then you're put into a pool, basically, and the small businesses that are associated with this program go into that pool of folks and find the right resource within that individual pool. So you have a much better chance of getting somebody, get matched up with somebody if you do participate in this program. So definitely recommend that. Okay. Recommended some support organizations or groups outside of those that I just mentioned. These are not, managed by Salesforce, but they are organizations that directly support Salesforce focused job placement, basically. Hiring Our Heroes is one of them. That's Salesforce specific, and Ladies Be Architects. So a lot of learning there, and they really help folks look for their opportunities that they need. So definitely, and there's links. These are links to each one of them here. A couple LinkedIn support groups. The Salesforce Talent Alliance has a specific LinkedIn group, so definitely recommend joining that if you fit the requirements. Again, if you're certified in less than 6 months of experience. There's a fairly grassroots LinkedIn group. Definitely recommend joining this one for Salesforce volunteers and mentors. They're trying to kind of get something similar to the Talent Alliance, but just more personal. Where they have a group of volunteers and potential mentors that can employ them for volunteer purposes. So, okay. And then just a couple third-party services that are not Salesforce focused, but you can find potential opportunities. Catch a Fire and Taproot Foundation. These are links here as well. So, okay. And so the last one here is some additional resources. I got one more on here from Salesforce Ben. Advice from the experts, Salesforce best practice from influencers and MVPs. This is great, insight from folks that are called MVPs. And I probably should mention that there's a group of individuals that are in the community. They don't work for Salesforce, but Salesforce has identified them as being folks that really get out there in the community and support the community as much as possible, and really know their product, as well, Salesforce is in general. So they've been, notified or identified as MVPs, and looked up to, from a mentoring perspective. So great resource there. And then the last one is the Salesforce Career Book, Playbook. I'm sorry, published by Martin Gessner. He's the guy that is the founder of Focus on Force. It does have a lot of great resources, and I'm a little biased because there's a few pages that kind of breaks out a day in my life. In there, he was nice enough to reach out to me to include me into that. But I'm one of probably about 40 people that he kind of lists a day in a life. Mine is from a consultant perspective. There's some that are in there from an admin, developer, so it's different roles, but a lot of other great information in there. So definitely recommend getting that. It was just published, maybe 6 months ago, so it has a lot of up-to-date information that I think would be very relevant to what's happening today for folks. So recommend that, and that's a link to go on there at Amazon and purchase that if you're interested. Okay. All right, so last but not least, the last resource I have is you. So I went through all this information, and all of these resources are awesome, right? But ultimately, it takes effort on your part. I know a lot of times Salesforce will almost sell it to you that all you got to do is go on trail and get certified and you'll get a job. It's not quite that easy. There is definitely effort involved, but it is effort that's well worth it. It's usually lots of fun to kind of get to know the people that are here to support you, like myself and others that are on the call. We love to help people out as much as we can because there is lots of opportunities out here for folks to do that. So get out there and learn on Trailhead, get certified, start posting in your local groups and outside of your local groups, get on social media, join the community events like you guys are doing now, whether it's virtually now or hopefully down the road, in person as much as you can. And network with like-minded people that are out there in the Salesforce ecosystem, either in the same position you are in your journey, or folks that either have gone through it and can provide some insight. But just the one thing I would mention is own your future. It's not going to come to you just like anything else in life. It's not going to come to you. You got to go get it and make it happen. But it just takes effort to do that. So, okay. And then that's basically it. Before we continue on, is there any questions about the resources that I've provided during this session today?
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
I have one more resource. It's for those who actually still use Facebook. There is a group called Salesforce for Everyone. Mm-hmm. That seems to have a lot of tips and tricks and jobs, and it's kind of like an all-around good group.
Awesome. Yeah, if you have a link to it, I don't know if you do or not, Allison, if you can put that in the chat, I can make sure I share that with everybody. That'd be awesome. So
will do.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, for sure.
You're welcome.
Mhm. Anything else? Any other questions or tips, again, like Allison, that that she found that was helpful? Anything, other groups or resources that you know about that I didn't mention today?
I threw volunteer match in there. I'm trying not to talk too much because I have landscaping going on. But I did throw volunteermatch.org on there.
I saw that. Awesome. Appreciate that. And then I saw Doug share the link that he mentioned for Justin Ducks. So appreciate that, Doug as well. So.
Also, Mark, I'm part of the Salesforce Volunteers and Mentors group. I am a volunteer in that group.
Okay.
My experience, we're just trying to look for, volunteer opportunities for myself and another group I'm part of, in a chatter group that I will share. They're pretty good. They have an onboarding process, making sure that you understand like the nonprofit success pack. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. Before you volunteer, because number one thing is, we want to make sure when we're working with nonprofits is do no harm. And so they're very good about that. And the way it's set up is that they have a program management platform. They use ClickUp, or we use ClickUp, and kind of just pick and choose a project that you are interested in, willing to tackle on, or collaborate with other volunteers as far as to provide solutions on it. And then we also have, people in the consulting group that would help out if needed. So very good experience. And I am part of a chatter group, like you mentioned before. It's called Start Your Career in SFDC, where they have, we discuss how to be relevant in the ecosystem, how to network. And now we are evolving into getting nonprofit or other types of projects, and we can try to collaborate together just to try to get experience, whether it's an actual project with a nonprofit, a business demo, or even trying to be significant in networking by blogging. So some ways to work with to get into the ecosystem.
Oh, that's perfect. That's great. I mean, and you bring up blogging. I mean, you hear that term, you're like, oh, I can't blog. I mean, blogs can be 2 minutes long or whatever, you don't have to be, an author of the novels to be able to write a blog. So just have it something that you have an opinion on or thoughtful about. So definitely encourage that as well. So yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Doug. That's awesome resources. Appreciate that. Cool. Any other insight or questions? And again, I'll share all these links that are in the chat. I'll add a slide to my deck here, and add those into here so you guys can have those ongoing as well on this deck.
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing, Mark. I just let a lot of people know who reach out to me about gaining experience. Don't be afraid to use your resume. So if you're pursuing a career that's your passion and you have 20 years of experience in accounting, it's not hard to, reach out to an accounting firm that's using Salesforce and use that background as some of your experience. Because sometimes employers want to know someone who actually know their process and they have some Salesforce experience, as opposed to someone who knows Salesforce really well, but knows nothing about their processes. So just don't be afraid to use your resume when it comes to experience as well.
That's an awesome point. Salesforce is considered a technology tool, right? But in so many times, people look for Salesforce folks that haven't been in technical positions all their career. They, like me, I spent 20 plus years managing call centers, and then I went into supporting Salesforce. So they look for those type of experience. So don't disvalue yourself because, oh, I'm not in a technical position, I can't do Salesforce. I never was in a technical position either, but you've been living in it for 10 plus years now, and very successfully, as well. So, thank you, Angela. Appreciate that. Wanted to kind of give some updates. I'll try to go through this quickly since we're already a little bit late finishing up here. Appreciate you guys sticking around. I won't go into this too much, but Trailhead Quest, if you're not familiar with those, you can complete certain actions inside of Trailhead and you earn either cool badges or a chance to win a a certificate or other type of rewards as well, depending on what you complete, whether you hit ranger level, whether you complete a quest like right now. Actually, I will go into it because there was like one in here I thought was kind of cool, the one for this month. It was like Earth Day or something. So you kind of learn some cool stuff about Earth Day, I think. Yeah, Earth Day quest through the end of May. So you can go in here and complete that trail mix. Just take care of the environment, MuleSoft Composer, and then some other ones that are more generally available all the time. So keep that in mind. Pledge 1%. If you haven't already, talk to your company about becoming a Pledge 1% partner or a company. Basically just means you give 1% of your equity, profit, product, or your company's employees' time to volunteer efforts. So just kind of, there's a link on this slide to learn more about it if you're interested in following up with your company about that. Upcoming events, we tentatively are going to have another session virtually Thursday, May 20th to talk about summer release highlights. It's right around the corner. Actually, should be in everybody's sandboxes in the next couple of weeks. I think around May 7th, I want to say. So we'll go ahead and talk about that. It won't be in your production yet, but we'll go ahead and kind of give you a heads up of what to expect come June for the summer release highlights, some of the cool stuff. And I think Angela's going to present on that. Did an awesome job for us last time for the spring release highlights. So Angel will do that again next month. And then Rich mentioned it. I thought I'd get some, thoughts from the folks, at least, whether it's here in Jacksonville or otherwise. What are your thoughts on an in-person event? I was thinking August timeframe, as long as things continue down the path they're going towards now and numbers go down. But any other thoughts from folks?
I am planning on having the developer group in-person meeting very soon. So I haven't scheduled it yet, but I'm technically not waiting.
Okay, so you're thinking like May or June, you're talking about trying to do something.
Yeah, it's going to be May or June. That's right.
Okay, all right, good to know.
But I am excited to get back into in-person meetings. I mean,
my goodness, yeah. As awesome as this is to meet up with folks outside of Jax, we definitely miss our in-person events for sure.
Yeah.
Learning and networking for sure.
For sure.
Any other thoughts on meeting in person and timing of what you might be comfortable with joining in person, so we can kind of have an idea, especially from the admin group, on starting to have those?
I would enjoy it.
What's that, Tim?
I said I would enjoy it.
Right.
Just a quick question, Mark. You, in going through all your slides, you were talking about focusing on projects. And okay, number one, how in the world am I going to be able to find this thing when we all say goodbye right here? I don't think, because what I did is I just joined the event. I don't think I've joined the group yet. So, and I think if I join the group, then I'm going to start getting emails, and then I'll be able to go through and see everything. When you, just one quick question, when you talked about focusing on your projects, what projects are you talking about? Those in the trails?
Right, yeah. So if you go to Trailhead, I'll pull it up real quick here actually. So if you go to Trailhead here and you go to where it says learn, there's an option here called projects. So that's basically what I'm talking about. It's go to here to projects.
Oh, okay.
And it'll pull up there's 128 projects where it's going to require you to open up a playground sandbox and complete some actions to be able to complete that particular project. So it's real good, kind of real live example experience that you can get. So that's what I'm talking about there. And then same things from a super badge. That's the projects are under learn, and the super badges are actually under credentials, because they're really considered similar to a certification. That's why I said I put my super badges on my LinkedIn, because I earn those bad boys. These super badges, even beyond projects, take a lot of effort, a lot of strategic thinking to figure out the answers and the solutions. So I put those on there whenever I earn those. So just kind of keep those in mind. Okay.
That was a question in my head, because I'm like, okay, I'm gone through beginner, I've gone through intermediate, and I, read and point and click, I can, I'll be honest with you. I came to Salesforce knowing how to do Facebook, knowing how to do email, the Google searches, and but this blew my mind. And that's why I said, I'll be honest with you, I started this like 3 times and it was like, no. And finally I just pulled up my little construction pants and said, this is what I got to do. So just keep hitting it with a bigger sledgehammer and go, oh, okay, that's how it works.
Right.
So,
Yeah. The great thing about Trailhead, if you're not ready to do those, continue to do the other modules so you're kind of really learning it and taking the time to practice the different options and the different scenarios and that kind of thing, and the different functionality configuration, the build functionality you talked about earlier. Practice those things in those other modules for sure. So,
yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then any updates from any other groups? I think Andy already left, but he did leave links to the Salesforce Saturday group, which is a great resource if you're not familiar with those, to kind of learn, learn Trailhead and learn new functionality and get together with folks kind of more casual environment. So look for some, join that group and look for updates from Andy on the Salesforce Saturday. And then Mike already mentioned he's planning on scheduling a developer meeting, hopefully in May or June in person. So that'd be awesome to kind of look forward to. Like you said, Tim, great to get in person with folks for sure. Some of these folks that that have joined our calls a few times now in the last year that I've never met in person, like Rich, would be awesome to kind of meet some of these folks in person. So, okay. Okay, and then I mentioned Florida Dreaming. I just put a slide in here to kind of give you some more info, some links to go register, the discount at the hotel if you want to stay there, all that kind of cool stuff. So these are our groups for Florida Dreaming. You can join both the success community, LinkedIn and Twitter. I mentioned Trail DX. Here's the info on that. It's free to register for anybody. A lot of cool info. We'll do a global gathering, and I think Mike, I mentioned, I think this might be my first opportunity maybe for us to do this in person. If this happens, I'm assuming maybe around August, we can all do a joint global gathering, maybe in person, if we can work that out. If all things align, we'll kind of keep an eye on that for sure. So, okay.
Yeah,
here's
great.
Yep. And then here's just some info again from our Jacksonville admin group Twitter. That's the handle for the group. Get out there if you want to let other people know you joined today's session and learn some cool stuff. Go out there on Twitter and tweet about it and let everybody know, and make sure you include that handle so they know you were a part of that part of this meeting today. Okay, so that's it. We wanted to spin. We only have a handful of folks left, but we did want to spin the wheel and give away two more Trailhead store gift cards. So let me try to find my wheel spinning device. You'll give me just a second. Apologize, but get all the people. I want to do this for folks that hopefully are here or have. So let me just plug everybody in here real quick. Okay, so I think I got everybody in here that I know is in the US. I think there might be an individual that I'm not sure if you're in the US or not, but these are the folks that are still on the call. So I want to kind of give it away to folks that have hung around. Appreciate you guys sticking around for this. So the only person, Bindu, are you in the US? I'm not sure. If you can chat that if you are, and I'll add you real quick. You're in Jax. Okay, awesome. Sweet. Sorry about that. Okay, sweet. Okay, so now I think, is there anybody, you don't see your name that's on the call? I think I got everybody. Okay, so let me share my sound again because, oh, I'm already sharing. Okay, sweet. Never stop. Okay, so I'm going to go full screen. I'm going to spin this thing twice. We're going to give away 2 more $50 gift cards to the Salesforce Trailblazer store. So you can spin that as you wish. The first winner will be Dwayne. Dwayne wins the first $50 gift card. And if you could email me at that email address, I'll show you in just a second again. But congratulations, Dwayne, on winning that prize. Good job. Congrats. All right, so let's spin this one more time and give one more away. Here we go. Who's going to be the now 5th winner of today? Awesome. Love giving stuff away. Ah, added your name just in time, Bindu. Sweet. Congratulations to Bindu as well. So that's our 5th winner of the day, and I appreciate everybody for sticking around as long as you did. Certainly, I know I've asked already about 5 times, but if anybody has any questions or comments, welcome to do so. But again, I appreciate everybody joining. Hopefully you learned some stuff. I'll share this recording as well as the slide deck with all the links soon. But I appreciate everybody joining today, and we'll see you guys at a future event virtually. And who knows, even though some of you guys are not necessarily specifically in Jax, but once we do start having in person, maybe you're not far enough away that you could come join us. It'd be great to meet everybody that's been joining over the last year or so. Be a little bit of a hike for Stephanie from Plano, Texas, but she's from here, so maybe she's got family to come visit. All right, well, hope you guys have a good evening, and we will talk to you guys next month.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Everybody have a good one.
Bye.
All right, bye, everybody. Yep.
You're a winner, Jordan.
Thank you.
All right, Mark, where the heck do I need to go in order to join your group?
Oh, so if you go to where the event is, like the event page,
Okay.
like if you're on, the event page, I'm gonna go share my screen again real quick. So you can see.
Trailblazer community.
Should look like this if you're on the event page.
Hang on. Oh, yeah, I can find that.
So if you're on here, it's kind of hard to see with the background I have, but there's a link to the group itself right below here.
Right.
If you click on that link,
Okay.
it should bring you to the group and tell you, are you in here?
Okay.
Basically, right? And then I
Okay.
think if you go, let me see, settings and privacy, maybe. Just what? No, it's not.
And
Profile then maybe.
basically just add my profile.
I'm trying to think.
Join-
There's a
join the group.
place. My RSVPs. You haven't joined one today. Updates. Oh, here it is. So if you go to your profile and then you click where it says updates, you just want to make sure that the box is checked to receive email newsletters from me.
Okay.
Does that make
All
sense?
right.
So just kind of go check that out and make sure those boxes are checked for this group or any other group you join. So, okay.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Tim. Have a good one. It's nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.